Hello, my name is Evelyn. I am 29 years old. I am writing these lines in the middle of the night, alone in my room, to tell you what is happening. There is wind outside, but the sound I hear is more than wind. An irregular tapping coming from inside the wall. Proof that these events are not truly over yet. My childhood passed in Indiana, in a quiet and loving home. My mother and father were a very harmonious couple. They loved each other deeply. They both worked at the city hospital. My mother was a nurse. My father was a doctor. My mother Linda and my father Mark never fought, until that morning. That day I woke up to shouting. When I ran into the living room, my mother and father were yelling at each other with anger. They did not notice me. When I started crying, my father turned to me and said in a harsh voice, "Go to your room." My mother shouted back at him, "You will pay the price." They never explained what had happened. The next day, in a rush, they left me with my Aunt Diane. She was a nurse like my mother, but she had quit years ago and retired. As my mother left me, she said, "We have something important to do." They did not return that evening. They said it was a traffic accident. When I saw their bodies, they were unrecognizable. After that day, I did not speak for months. Years passed. I moved to another city. I tried to build a new life, until the dreams began. I started seeing my Aunt Diane in my dreams. She was dressed all in black. She was crying and saying, "Come home." There were marks on her neck, like rope marks. After seeing the same dream over and over, I called her. She never answered. That weekend, I went to her house to visit her. The garden was neglected. The house looked abandoned. The moment I stepped inside, a heavy smell hit my face. Not dust, something worse. After searching the house carefully, it was clear she had not been there for a long time. I asked her neighbor Helen, who loved me very much. Her face changed, and she invited me inside. "Diane hasn't been well these past months," she said. One evening, she ran out into the street screaming. People who approached her said her body was extremely hot. She was taken to the hospital by ambulance. Then I heard she left the hospital on her own. After that, she never came back. We never heard from her again. That night, both to tidy the house and because I was exhausted from the long trip, I stayed there. I told myself I would continue looking for my aunt in the morning. The house was freezing cold. Not a cold coming from outside, but as if it were seeping in from somewhere else. While going through drawers in my aunt's room, I found a letter. "The price of what we did will not stop following us. Linda and Mark paid this price with their lives. Now it is my turn. It must end without touching you." My hands were shaking. My parents' names were there. What did my aunt mean by this? What did it have to do with my mother and father's deaths? Meaningless questions echoed in my mind. When I lay down to sleep that night, sounds began to come from inside the house. It felt like my door was opening, but when I looked, I could see it was closed. I told myself it was an old house, that I should not imagine things. Then the sound came from inside the wall. Then I heard a very low whisper. "Evelyn." I looked at my watch. 3:30. At that moment, my bedroom door slowly opened. The hallway was dark, but there was something there. I could not see it, but I felt that it was watching me. A sentence was whispered from the doorway. "You are late." From the living room came the sound of metal scraping like a chain. I grabbed my phone. There was no signal. When I looked at the call screen, I saw strange numbers had been dialed, but I had not called anyone. I went to the bathroom to wash my face, trying to calm myself. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a face with pale white eyes behind my own reflection. I froze. My body felt paralyzed. The reflection smiled. Its lips moved. There was no sound, but I heard it. "Tonight it begins." I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. When I closed my eyes, I felt a hand on my right shoulder. I ran back to my room, slammed the door shut, and locked it. As soon as morning came, I left the house. The darkness of the night had faded, but the weight inside me was still there. I had only one thought in my mind: going to the hospital where my aunt had been admitted. What was written in the letter, the sounds I heard in the house, the silhouette I saw. My aunt was the only one who could explain all of it. I went to the hospital's registered building in the city center. The corridors were silent. I asked the clerk for Diane Carter. She looked at the computer, then spoke without lifting her head. "She stayed here for a while. She left of her own will 2 weeks ago. Do you know where she went?" I asked. She hesitated. She asked several times about an old place, an old facility in the forest. But that place was closed years ago. I asked for the address. She wrote it on a piece of paper and placed it in front of me. A road leading into the forest, barely visible even on maps. When I set off, my phone had no signal. As the trees thickened, the sky felt like it was closing in. Finally, I saw the building. I could hardly call it a hospital. It looked more like an abandoned factory. Broken windows, crumbling walls, silence everywhere. The moment I stepped into the yard, something inside me said turn back. But my feet kept moving forward. I pushed the door. Inside was dark. The lights illuminating the corridor flickered now and then. Each step echoed on the floor, the sound returning to me. Behind the reception desk, a woman was sitting. Her face was frozen. She looked like she was smiling, but the smile did not fit her face. "My aunt is here," I said. "Her name is Diane." The woman looked at me. She spoke without averting her eyes. "No one stays during the day." "What do you mean?" I asked. She repeated in the same tone, "No one stays during the day." I turned my back and walked into the corridor. Time felt like it was no longer moving. My phone froze. The screen went dark. Strange sounds came from the rooms, as if more than one person was whispering inside, but the words could not be understood. I thought I had to leave immediately, that what I was experiencing was not normal. I went back to the door I had entered through, but it was closed. The woman at the desk said this was a mental hospital and that exit door did not open. I had to leave from further inside. As she spoke, her voice became muffled and turned into something other than a human voice. I ran down the corridor. I saw the area with the restrooms and thought washing my face might help. The air grew heavier. When I stepped inside, I heard the whisper, "Don't go." Footsteps came from behind me. I turned. No one was there. A shadow slid under the door. I turned on the faucet. A mud-colored liquid flowed instead of water. I pushed the door. It did not open. For a moment, it felt like it was being held from the outside. I pushed with all my strength, and the door opened. When I stepped back into the corridor, it was night. My sense of time had changed, and it felt like I was starting to lose my mind. The woman at the reception desk was still there. She looked at me. "The time has come," she said. "Are you ready?" I wanted to ask the time. She pointed to an old wall clock. "Midnight. Time flows differently here," she whispered, and started walking. I had no choice but to follow her. She stopped in front of a door. She opened it. "Go inside." When I entered the room, I saw her. My Aunt Diane was chained to the bed. She was unrecognizable. Her eyes were sunken, her body bruised. When she saw me, her lips trembled. "Why did you come?" she whispered. I told her about the letter, the dreams, everything. "I came to take you," I said. Her eyes widened in fear. "No," she said. "We were involved in a curse in the past. My sister and her husband paid the price. Now it is my turn. You must leave without it touching you." The moment she finished speaking, the room changed. Whispers rose from the walls. Dragging sounds came from under the bed. The air thickened. I could not get closer. My aunt's voice deepened, as if it was coming from more than one mouth. "Go." Her eyes turned completely white. A dark liquid flowed from her mouth. An unbearable smell filled the room. I ran to the door. It would not open. Screams echoed through the corridor. Finally, the door suddenly opened and I burst outside. I ran. The exit sign flickered on and off. When I looked through the glass of one room, I saw a body hanging from the ceiling. It lifted its head. Empty eye sockets stared at me. "I see you," it said. The footsteps behind me multiplied. I reached the exit door. I pounded on it. At that moment, I felt a warm breath on my neck. It is already too late. At the last second, I heard another voice. "Come here." A young man was standing outside by a window, signaling with a flashlight. The glass did not break. "You cannot get out this way," he said. "Follow the red sign." I ran. The door opened by itself. I threw myself outside. Cold air hit my face. The man came up to me. He said his name was Robert. "I left people inside too," he said. "Few make it out of this place." When I turned back, there were faces in every window of the hospital. All of them were staring at me. Robert pulled me away. "Go," he said. "Never come back." I got into the car. When I reached the city, it was morning. For days, I researched. In old records, I read that the hospital had been closed years ago, that spiritual, supernatural, and demonic experiments had been conducted there. Missing patients, undocumented experiments beyond imagination. My father, My mother and my aunt had worked there. They had participated in those experiments and applied them to people. When I read their names, everything became clear. They had done things they should never have done. I understood then that it was not just a building. It was an opened place, and it had never been closed. Even today, I still wake up at night. I hear the tapping coming from inside the wall. Sometimes a face appears behind me in the mirror, and every time it whispers the same sentence: "It is not over yet." Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. If this video affected you, don't forget to support the channel by liking it. For more dark and realistic stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next story.